People of the State of Michigan versus Cole Aaron Summey, 2023293. Mr. Summey is appearing from the jail. Ms. Hines is his attorney, and Ms. Schmidt is the agent. Mr. Summey is on probation on a charge of possession of methamphetamine, a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison. His agent filed a petition. Well, he was placed on probation on July 10th, 2020. And his agent filed the first petition alleging that he violated the terms of his probation on September 25th, 2020. That petition contained 4 counts. And then he was seen. He entered a not guilty plea and asked that the matter be held off until the underlying charges were resolved. And he was granted a PR bond on September 28th, 2020. And then another petition was filed on November 10th, 2020, and this one contained 7 counts in the probation violation petition. And he appeared on November 10th at that time with Mr. Von Eitzen, the public defender, entered not guilty pleas to ask the matter be held off and that Ms. Hines be appointed. And at that point, Ms. Hines was appointed, but his bond, he was not granted a bond at that time. And so now his underlying case has resolved, so we're ready to proceed. And Ms. Hines, you've had a chance to talk with Mr. Summey about both of the different petitions, and what does he wish to do?
Your Honor, he'd be willing to enter admission to modified petitions. There are certain allegations he's not willing to admit to, but he is to other, and I can go through the ones that he's willing to admit to in each petition if you would like.
Okay, so in the September 25th, 2020 petition, the 4 counts, go ahead.
He would be willing to enter an admission to count 2 and to count 3.
Okay, admit.
And
3.
in the November 9th petition, he'd be willing to enter admission to count 1, count 2, count 5, and count 6.
All right.
And
So
it's my understanding. Go ahead.
Well, in the first one, so he would make an admission to, well, count 1, the violation of a state law for the possession of brass knuckles would be dismissed. Correct. He would admit to count 2, violation of condition 11 that says that he is not to be in the company of anyone to be in possession of controlled substances. And then on August 22nd, 2020, he was in the company of Lucy Blesh, who was in possession of methamphetamine. Count 3, he would admit to that he is not to be in the presence of a known felon. And that again, on August 22nd, 2020, he was in the company of Lucy Blesh, who was a convicted felon. And then count 4, the possession of a weapon, the possession of the brass knuckles would be dismissed. Is that agreeable, Ms. Schmidt?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, now we go to the September 25th one. And here he would admit that he violated state law by being in possession of a firearm or an imitation firearm. Count 2, he would admit to he's not to have a weapon, and he was found to be in possession of a firearm or an imitation firearm. Admit to that. Count 3, that he is not to use or possess any controlled substances, and that he was in possession of methamphetamine would be dismissed. Count 4, that he is not to violate any criminal law of government, that he was found to be in possession of methamphetamine would be dismissed. Count 5, that he is not to violate the law of any unit of government, and that he was a felon in possession of ammunition. On November 8th, 2020, he would admit to that. And then 6, not violate any criminal law of any unit of government. And on November 8th, he was found to be carrying a concealed weapon. He would admit to that. And then 7, the not violating any criminal law. Wait. So would he admit to 7 too?
No, because it was during the commission of a felony. So no, he would not be willing to admit to that. So my guess is the felony, the underlying felony would have been possession of methamphetamine, Your Honor.
Well, the underlying felony would be the carrying concealed weapon. But is
that
that agreeable to you, Ms. Schmidt?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so drop 7. Okay, so let's go back then. Mr. Summey, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, in the petition dated September 25th, 2020, there are 4 counts. You've indicated that you're willing to admit to 2 of those. The agent has indicated she's willing to dismiss the other 2. And so I'll address those 2 that you've indicated you would admit to. It alleges in count 2 that you violated condition 11. It says you are not to be in the company of anyone who is in possession of a controlled substance. And that on August 22nd, 2020, you were in the company of Lucy Blesh, who was in possession of methamphetamine. How do you plead to that?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Okay. Count 3 alleges that you are not to have any verbal, written, electronic, or physical contact with without the permission of your agent with anyone you know to have a felony record. And on August 22nd, 2020, you were in the company of Lucy Blesh, who is a convicted felon. How do you plead to that?
Guilty, Your Honor.
And so, the factual basis for that would be that you were just with Lucy on August 22nd and she had meth and you knew she was a convicted felon. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. I wasn't completely aware of either of those things, but I am taking responsibility for it, Your Honor.
Okay, so she was a felon, you were in her company, you didn't have permission, and she was in possession of methamphetamine at the time.
Yes, Your Honor.
Petition from November 10th, 2020. You're going to admit to count 1 that you violated the law on November 8th, 2020 by being in possession of a firearm or an imitation firearm as a convicted felon. How do you plead to that?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Count 2 is that you violated condition 23 of your probation, which says you're not allowed to have a weapon or an imitation weapon under your control, and that on November 8th, you were found to be in possession of a firearm or an imitation firearm. How do you plead to that?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Count 3 is dismissed. Count 4 is dismissed. Count 5 is that you violated the law of a unit of government, that on November 8th, 2020, you were found to be in possession of ammunition as a convicted felon. How do you plead to that?
Guilty, Your Honor.
And count 6, violation of condition 1 is that on November 8th, 2020, and condition 1 is that you not break the law. On November 8th, 2020, you were found to be carrying a concealed weapon. How do you plead to that?
Guilty, Your Honor.
And then count 7 would be dismissed. All right. And in this case, November 8th, 2020, you were found by the police to be in possession of what?
It was a .22 caliber pistol, Your Honor.
And it was loaded?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. So has anyone promised you anything to get you to admit to the violation other than the other counts would be dismissed?
No, Your Honor.
Anybody threaten you to do so?
No, Your Honor.
Are you doing this of your own free will?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you understand that if I accept your admissions, your probation could be revoked and you could be resentenced, it could be continued, or it could be modified. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
I find that the pleas made are knowingly, understandingly, and voluntarily, and that there's a factual basis. Therefore, I accept the admissions. His new case is set for sentencing. Is it June 16th or July 16th?
July, Your Honor.
July 16th. So I'd ask that an updated pre-sentence report be prepared on these cases so that we do them all at once and set sentencing for July 16th at the same time as his new charges.
Okay, Your Honor.
Okay? All right. And then we will see you back here on July 16th for sentencing on your old cases and your new cases, Mr. Summey. And we are adjourned at this point. Thank